costs is it through what the shoppers are paid.
Right.
And I know what they do is that they raise, the prices are substantially raised.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it to you.
Right. So anyway, right. So it doesn't make it. And, so I guess why would you want to do it? Well, so if you listen to some of the blog stuff, the old timers will say, if we didn't have these stupid new people being willing to do all of this stuff for cheap, then we'd be able to, have an argument with shit. And that's the same thing with Instacart too.
Right.
And like I've already said, I've already heard that you make less money because the tips are not as generous. And I believe that. I mean, I've experienced that firsthand. I started this is about my third week with Instacart, so, and that's true.
So I guess, I'll return to Instacart in a moment, but I was kind of curious about that moment after you, during the holiday period where you had to, apply for rent assistance and other forms of assistance. Was this like state assistance?
It was state. And then a family happened to be looking for an opportunity to help another family, and so luckily for me, they chose us, and so my grandson was able to get presents and stuff based on that.
Was this like a community program or like a mutual aid group, or I guess how did you find out about?
It was on a format called Nextdoor.
Oh, yeah, I know Nextdoor.
And so they said that they had an extra $400, and they were looking for, they called it Last Minute Santa. And so Last Minute Santa was how I ended up kind of surviving that. And I went to a food pantry, and I did a whole bunch of stuff that I never in my wildest imagination, thought I was going to end up doing, because it was a necessity, and I've kind of cobbled it together, but I owe on my car payment, and I owe on rent, and like I said, I'm finally in a position where I can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's gonna take, a while for me to get back on my feet, and for that, part of it was, if I wasn't in the position that I was in when I started with Shipt, then I wouldn't have ended my relationship with them in that position.
Do you feel like...
I get it. I get that part. You know what I mean? It's not completely them.
Right.
But I didn't have any room. And I think the reason why that story is relevant is because there's a ton of other people that is their story when they get into this type of a work.
Do you feel like the state has a level of responsibility over how companies like Shipt treat workers, both, I guess, you mentioned the sort of independent contractor employee thing, but also like the fact that because Shipt cut you off, all of a sudden you had to kind of turn to state resources.
I think that they do, because the problem is that because they're not paying into our tax system either, right?
Yeah.
So I think they do, because they have the ability to cause a huge amount of damage to families and stuff. And the other part too is that I don't know, when people are so desperate, I wonder how many people get involved in this kind of stuff and then end up putting enough money away for their taxes and stuff like that, so that they end up being in a hole.
You mean doing gig work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it's cash, you know what I mean? And so what I don't understand is, does that not mean that their continued burden on the system, because they put themselves into a super hole that they simply cannot, they can't, so they're on assistance forever or for a longer period of time.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is a new thing with the pandemic, or it's something that's kind of broader?
I feel like, well, I'm sure there are probably gig workers that have had some of these issues, but I think a lot of this is pandemic related. And I'm not sure that I'm totally right, but it feels to me like that that's pretty accurate, because I don't know that people were doing this kind of work, and it wasn't as lucrative to do it, and as it has been now, and I don't know that it was an issue when it was stay-at-home moms.
Right.
With husbands. I mean, this is a fun job, you know what I mean? So I'm not really sure that those things being an issue were back when I first became aware of Shipt. I knew of people who were shopping for fun. You know what I mean? It was like their bad money. They could go out and do 2 shops before they picked up their kids from school and make $100.
Yeah.
And then they were recruiting their own regulars and doing all of these things. What's really interesting between the two platforms is Instacart does not like people taking their the phone numbers of their customers. But,
they want to keep it on the platform.
Right. But, oh, heck no. Not,
So you started Instacart shortly. You said you've been doing it for a couple of weeks now. Is that right? So in the meantime, because that's kind of a gap between during the winter time and when you started, did you try applying for pandemic unemployment assistance or anything?
Yes, and I have, and I finally am in a situation where I'm getting, looks like I'm getting closer, but that of course was not a quick, what do I want to say? That I haven't gotten a check yet, so that was not a quick source of money.
Okay, I see. So
I had to get rejected from one and then go to the next.
So when did you first apply for pandemic unemployment assistance?
January or February.
Okay, so you applied, and was it, I guess, what kind of proof do you have to show that you're unemployed?
Well, it makes it harder. Well, see, you're not gonna, most people that are doing gig stuff have to go through the pandemic. They're not going to get it from their state unemployment.
Right, the regular
one. So you have
one.
to be rejected. And you have to provide your bank statement and your W-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a 1099, I guess, if you have a 1099.
Yeah. So you first have to be rejected from the regular unemployment assistance, and then you can apply for unemployment. Right. Okay.
Right.
And I guess for that you were able to submit like a 1099 from Shipt.
Right. And so then that's what it's based on is that.
Mm-hmm.
which is